Today we're talking about college planning with your college age kids. Here we go.
The Retirement Readiness Podcast with Tim Regan and Katie Umland, presented by Prairie View Wealth Partners. Live your 2 life.
Okay, so it's back to school season.
Back to school season.
All that means to me is like back to school clothes.
Oh, yes. Well, Sarah and I were just talking about that. Those were like the days, right? when you like anymore, our kids don't even do that stuff. It's like they just get clothes whenever they want them.
Yeah.
Where like there were like 2 very specific times in your life you're able to get new tennis shoes and new clothes. You got it before school started. You got some stuff at Christmas. And then when your gym shoes, your PE shoes, whatever, were like
your toes are sticking out.
Yeah, well, then all of a sudden your gym shoes after school, that's like a new pair of
shoes.
Yeah, to start in the summertime, right? And like, so you literally like this. The world is a whole different place these days.
And you have like a whole new wardrobe, and you just feel like so cool.
Yeah.
My goodness, I can like viscerally remember that feeling of like.
Well, those were like great days, and you're like excited about going to see your friends and
picking your folders.
Yes. Yeah. And unfortunately, when kids go off to college, things change slightly.
Yeah. I don't think that they're excited to pick folders, but maybe still
they
back to school
are.
clothes.
They're still excited to go, and like they're excited about the newness and all that kind of stuff. And so as I start thinking about my kids, and when they like start those transitions, so we've got Maddie that we just moved down to. She's doing grad school and law school at the same time. And so she's like at the end of that spectrum, right? But then I also think about Lily, who is a 6th grade teacher.
Yeah.
And she's got the whole new school thing going on and getting her room ready and stuff. And all the way to Grace, so then Tim obviously in the middle and number 3. And then Grace is in that transition.
Don't just blow past the middle child.
I know.
Give him his minute.
Said like from the baby of the family, like all attention's supposed to be on the baby, I thought. So that's why I was trying to skip to Grace.
Okay.
Yeah. So Tim in his 2nd year down at Xavier, we just got him moved in and stuff. And so it's like you go through all of that newness. And then I've got Grace, who's our senior, and in the middle of this thought around like, I better be applying to schools and start getting my decision around how is this going to work and where am I going to go and all that kind of stuff. So I think for us at this time in our lives, it's like a really good time to have this conversation around, how does that look? And
you're spending so much mental time in that, in that college arena for the last, how many years? 8 years.
Yeah. Long time.
With when Lily kind of started that process.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're kind of on number 4 of figuring out that whole college from start to finish.
And you feel now like, okay, now I finally have the system down.
Right. And now you don't have to do it again.
I don't have to do it again, right? And by the time my grandkids get there, it'll be way different.
Yeah.
And so I think like that.
Well, and I just like barely finished college recently.
Yes, I remember that.
I'm like pretty much still in college.
It's funny. We had one of our listeners, write to us and ask if you're old enough to be on the show.
Yeah, I know, because they're like, oh, I think she's like still like 21.
Yeah, maybe
like,
is she your intern?
Oh my goodness, she's so like advanced for being 21.
Yes, that's what
they
said.
And then another listener was like, no, she's not.
No, exactly. So when we think about that stuff, it's like, I think about it in phases. This whole sending the kids off to school, college planning piece. I mean, obviously everybody thinks about the early phase of, am I going to have enough and should I save my money and that stuff? And so there's like, we could do a whole series on, just how do you finance college? Maybe we should one day like put together like this series of, okay, the financing in the early years. Then you could do like, how do you apply? How do you negotiate financial aid and that kind of stuff? You can do, what do you do when they're in school? You can do, what do you do when mom's crying on the way home? Like the whole gamut, we could cover it all. But I think really for this episode, what I think about is I think about the newness of those experiences and the newness of, I graduate from high school, getting ready to graduate. And now this is a whole new journey. What are the things that we should be thinking about as we go through that journey? And right now, I mean, it all starts with that application process. Our encouragement. So if there's any parents that haven't gone through that process, your application for college starts when your kid is a freshman in high school. It might not seem like it. It might seem way off in the future. It starts when your kid's a freshman in high school.
Meaning you're building that resume.
You're building the resume from the classes that they choose to the activities that they're in. You're building the resume. And so from our perspective, what we found, and this is both with our clients and with our own kids, when they're in school, they have the choice of, am I going to take my regular history class, or am I going to take what they call APUSH, AP US History? Well, regular history, I'm going to get through and have an easier year potentially, but that's all it's going to do. It's going to get me through college or get me through high school with an easier year. If I do APUSH, that not only gets me through high school, it might be slightly harder, but if I pass that AP test at the end, that gives me college credits that I don't have to take that class again. So now, as I'm a college and I'm looking at that resume, and I've got 2 students, they both have great GPAs. They both did good in school. One took advanced placement classes. The other one took regular classes. The advanced placement class looks a little bit better to me on that resume.
And less money you have to spend on in college.
No, it's 1,000%. So like to that point, we were fortunate enough, our 2 middle, the ones that I was going to skip over, Maddie and Tim, the way that they were able to work their high school, and this was, I mean, it sounds like I say the way they're able to work it like this, some master plan. It wasn't. It's how it worked out for them. But the way that they took the AP classes, and then the way they worked their schedule in college, both of them are going to graduate with dual degrees. Both of them had 2 minors, and they both will graduate an entire year early.
And studying abroad.
And studying abroad.
Yep.
And they have some
study
experience
abroad
studying abroad. And so you look at that and I'm like, that's significant, right? An entire year. So
that's so much money, let alone time,
effort. And so when you start adding those things up, that's why we say that application process starts your freshman year in high school. Now, if your kids pass that, don't feel like all is lost. It's not. But just when you start thinking about how does this work? The earlier you start thinking about it, the better off your kid's going to be.
I think it's also super important. As a new mom, I feel like I'm learning to advocate for my kids. And sure. I think it's also super important. You can't rely on the counselor to present your kids with a path or their options, and you can't also rely on your kid to hear what the counselor is saying and make those
relay it to you
and make those right choices. Like, I think you have to also kind of put in your own time and effort as well and be pushing for that too.
1,000%. And like, so there's a few things with that. Like, we tell our kids all the time. So when you're younger and you're a kid growing up, every adult is an authority figure. As they get through high school, start getting into college, and they start becoming more adult-like, they have to realize that, yes, all adults, you need to respect them. But there are top 10 percenters in every field. And just because you have a counselor who might be a bottom 10 percenter, you can't let them dictate your outcome. Mm-hmm. You have to be the one, to your point, that advocates for yourself, takes control of some of the things that you need to.
And you don't know what you don't know. As a freshman in high school, they're not thinking about college. You have to be the one helping to lead the way and pushing the counselor, or, kind of making sure that they're still on the right track.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's kind of, Katie, to the saying that you like to say, choose your hard. So it's easy when I'm going through high school to choose the easy path, but that just means that I now have to take 2 history classes, the one I took in high school plus the one I'm required to in college.
Right.
Well, maybe choose the hard is I'm going to choose the hard of get through the advanced placement test and then go and only not have to take that in college. That being said, we also have an example with Grace where it's the opposite. We did not have this year. She was scheduled to take an advanced placement. I don't know what it was, psychology, I think it was, but it was going to be her like 0 hour, or what we used to call early bird class. She wants to be a teacher. When she goes to school, she's going to have to take 4 years of school. There is no way like a teacher's done in 3.5 years or 3 years. It's going to be a 4-year process. And when you go to school, the college is going to charge you based on being a full-time student. So they don't care if you take 12 credit hours or 18 credit hours, your bill is the same. So when we evaluated that for Grace, we said it doesn't make sense for her to have an entire year of getting up and being at school before 7 a.m. just so that she can get these credits that really isn't going to give her anything.
Kind of don't apply to anything.
Yeah, it's not going to save her money. It's not going to get her out early. And so let's let her have an easier senior year. And so kind of that being a little strategic in how you do that can play.
I'm also like curious what your thoughts are. Like, I'm thinking of different people that we know that they truly don't think college is in their future, which totally fine. But you also don't want to assume that going into high school, and then you find yourself by senior year, you realize you do want to go, and now you're kind of feel like you're behind.
Yeah, the thing, and I don't know, maybe not everybody has the same opportunities in the high schools that their kids go to, but in our high school, it's a bigger high school with lots of opportunity. And so as your kid's going through, if you're thinking like they really like mechanical things, or they really like working with their hands in the wood shop or that kind of stuff, maybe there's a different path. Then focus their time in high school, not around these AP classes like we're talking about. Focus that time in letting them take classes that will let them explore what do you like. Get the core done. Obviously, you have to graduate high school, but take a wood shop class. Look for an internship that will let you, go sweep up the shop floor in the local auto body shop rather than, working at McDonald's or something like that, and use high school as that path. Again, like your application for the next part of your life starts at freshman year of high school to find out what is that path, where do I want to go, and how do I set myself up for success there.
Because we've also, some kids that I'm thinking of that kind of do fall more into that mechanic spot. These AP classes are riddling them with anxiety.
Sure. Yeah. So why do it?
So why, so I'm like, I'm thinking of them if they were my kids. I don't want them to I don't want to say, okay, yeah, we don't have to do that. I want to push them to their strongest level, but also let's be realistic. And if this is going to be a negative, I feel like it's a hard thing to balance.
Well, I think that it goes to, what's the desired outcome? And our approach, our desired outcome is for our kids to be the best versions of them that they can be. And so, like Grace, she took a photography class. She took a pottery class. She loved it. And she is a much more creative person than some of our other kids were. And so for her, that's part of her being the best her that she can be. That gives her an outlet. It gives her a creative way to be, where, like, if I put Tim in pottery or photography, kid will go nuts. Like he wouldn't, he just wouldn't enjoy it. And so as we think about then, how does that translate to next steps, right? In college or not? If you start as a freshman in high school and say, I'm building this resume for the rest of my life, and keep that headset on, then if I'm going to college, here's my path. If I'm not going to college, maybe I do these things. But then when I get ready to apply, I fill out the applications, send them in. They're looking my stuff over. I've got this essay that I have to write. Our opinion is that old mantra, like the early bird gets the worm. The earlier you are in that process, the better you're going to fare. So when your child is a junior in high school, that second semester, their junior year, start taking them to college visits, get on campuses, let them see what they like. Oh, I like big school. I like small school. I really like this other school because they had a cool mascot, or, whatever it is. Like, let them start getting a feel for what they like, so that then in the fall of their senior year, when they're just starting, they can get college applications out. What that will mean is most colleges will start then sending out acceptance letters in the fall. And now you can start evaluating, and you're giving yourself as much lead time as possible to figure out the money stuff. And, colleges are businesses too. They have a budget to get kids in the door. Well, if you're the last one to apply, the budget might be gone. And so the earlier you are in that process, the more likely you are to have them make an offer saying, yes, you're the exact student we want. We want you here. Let's make an offer to help you financially get here too. So
do you want to dive into some of the financial parts of college, or should we save that for
Katie, this is your show.
Oh, right. Okay.
Like, I think you're forgetting like the world. This is Katie's world.
Let me tell you.
So I think really we could talk about, we could go either direction. We can either talk about the money side of it, or we could talk about the soft side around what's it take to get that kid ready to actually launch in college.
Okay. Well, let's stick with the soft side. So we've kind of talked a little bit about this before, but kind of goes along with a little bit of the financial. So when we start talking about getting ready for college, like you have said in the past, like that's maybe also a good time to kind of start building some credit, teaching them about how to use a credit card, debit card. Like, so how do you kind of send away your kids with?
Yeah. So for us, that part of the equation starts when they turn 16. In our house, we have an agreement with the kids. When they want to buy a car, whatever money they've saved, we'll match and we'll go buy them a car. They are responsible for, I say I don't pay for fun, right? So anything they're going out with their friends with, that's on them. They're responsible for maintenance, gas in the car, and we split insurance. Any major repairs, we also split. So when you think about that, that's a structure, right? It starts to let them start to think about, how do I manage my money? How do I make sure that when I want to have fun, I have the money to do it, and I haven't spent it all on speedy freezes when I fill up with gas. Grace Captain.
So I was going to say, yes. We're looking at you, Grace.
But that starts that path, and it starts letting them get a little bit of a money mindset. The other thing, though, that we do at that point is we also allow them to be a signer on our credit card at home, and they have a card in their wallet. That starts their credit. Even though it's our card, even though I'm paying the bill, that starts their credit.
By making them a signer.
And putting them as an added person on the credit card. For us, from a selfish perspective, it's way easier for me to text Grace and say, stop and get milk, and she has my card and can swipe my card at the grocery store, than it is for me to say, stop and get milk. Oh, now I got to either find cash or Venmo you or whatever. It's just easier. But that starts to build their credit. So now when they get ready to go to school, the summer after their senior year, before their freshman year of college, we apply for a Target card for them. Target gives them, you use the card, it gives them 5% off at the register, but every town has a Target. They're going to have to get supplies. So it's an easy way for them to start that journey. But
Target sells beer.
Yes, they do. At least the good ones do. And so,
if you're in college, do not buy your beer at Target.
Let's talk about budget here.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Convenient, maybe. Good idea. Now, the thing though, which I don't know that we'll go down that path just for a little tangent. I don't know if my kids have figured out yet or not. But when I get the Target credit card, there's no itemization. It just says Target,
just
right? Yeah. And so for all I know, I've been buying beer for 8 years. But with their credit card,
can I be a signer on your Target card?
Yeah. Well, and with the Target card, that's a card that's in their name, right? That's not my card that they're a signer on. We now have transitioned from my card that they're a signer on to now they have their own credit that they're building with their own Target card. Now, their Target card comes to my house. I pay the bill. Part of our agreement with the kids is when they're in school, I don't mind sharing what our process is. We split college costs with the kids 80-20. We pay 80%, they pay 20%. But all of their room and board, living expenses, I still don't pay for fun, but I'll pay for their shampoo and all that kind of stuff.
I was going to say, is toilet paper fun? Or
depends. Is it going over trees or used in the bath? I don't know. But yeah, so their Target bill still comes to the house because that's part of what I'm going to pay. And so now they're building credit. It's on their card. I'm paying that on a consistent basis. So now when they graduate college, they have a credit history. And knock on wood, I've not missed any bills, and it's a good credit history. So now they're set up to start the next phase of life, even maybe in an increased place. And so then there's something about when you do that, the student, maybe all students get this, but our kids got, Target gives you a 20% off coupon for students when you go back to school. Well, Target's not dumb. They're trying to get them in there right away, but I'm also not dumb. That Target run's going to cost me like $1,000, I think. Yeah. It's like, not really, but it's like crazy.
Yeah.
Because by the time you get them all situated,
they always need more than you think.
Always. Which, by the way, that's also a good opportunity. Like for the kids that we drive to school, Sarah drives this big truck, so we haul down all their stuff, get them unloaded. We do the Target shop after that. And we happen to bring back in our truck gobs of stuff we need for the house at the 20% discount that the students get.
Like, might as well.
You go while they're on. So, so that's how we usually try to set them up. When you get ready to send them off to school. So let me back up for a second. So when they're in high school, getting ready to look at colleges, part of that money conversation has to be, like I talked about us doing 80-20. What is your arrangement with them going to be? If you wait until you get college offers, you've been on visits to have that conversation, you're behind. You're going to get caught in a bad place. So you need to have that thought and that conversation before you ever start looking at schools. Because if you don't think that you're going to write a check for $75,000 a year, don't apply to Notre Dame, right? Because Notre Dame ain't giving you any money anyway. You're going to pay full boat probably if you're doing
or
that.
At least plan on it.
Yeah, exactly. And so if that's out of the realm of what you're wanting to do or capable of doing, then let's be smart with what schools are we applying to and what's that going to cost? What's the value of the education? That kind of stuff. And if those schools are outside of the realm, don't even go look at them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
don't look at a $1.2 million house if your budget's 500.
Exactly.
That's not
exactly. I'm going to buy
doing nobody a favor.
I'm going to buy a Chevy, but I'm going to test drive a Maserati. That's dumb, right?
Yeah.
Like it just,
can't go back.
No. And so it kind of starts there. Set yourself up. So when you start looking for schools that junior year, look for the schools that are in your budget. Look for the schools that have a lot of variety. Your student should be able to talk to their counselor. There are software programs out there, websites that they can go in. We used it for all of our kids. You enter what you think you want to do, the size of school you think you want, how far from home, and it comes with a whole list of schools. Use
it's like
that
college online dating.
It has sort of,
yeah.
And then use that list. And in our house, what we've done then is you take that list and then you start going to the websites and you start saying, oh yeah, no, I really don't like this. Oh, this looks good. And you come up with your 5 to 10 schools and then you start a road trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just start going to see where you want to go. And then you're setting yourself up. It's a lot of times with everything in life, how you start is how you end. And if you don't start right, you're not going to end right. So if you don't start with saying, this is what we're willing to pay, we're looking at schools that fit that bill. If you don't set yourself up that way, you're going to end up when they get all these acceptance letters in the mail, all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, now we're too far down that path. Now we've got way too much student loan debt. Now we've got ourselves as parents are in a place we didn't want to be. You set yourself up for failure.
And the kids are disappointed potentially. And
1,000%. Well, and really a sad story with that. Tim, this year was one of the things he did was help freshmen get on campus at Xavier. And part of that process, he got to know this freshman, and a week and a half into school, saw him at the CAF, and he was like, hey, Tim, thanks a lot. Really good knowing you, but my parents are picking me up on Saturday.
Oh.
And Tim's like, oh, I'm sorry, why? And Tim was really excited for this kid. He was the very first person in his entire family to ever even go to college. Like, it was like a big deal. And somehow in the financial conversation, there was a misunderstanding. And when they got their first bill, it was much more expensive than what mom and dad had anticipated it being. And he was like, yeah, we can't
pull the plug.
We can't do it. And so, we've had, then you sit there and your heart breaks for this kid. Yeah. You're like, let's start GoFundMe or something. Like, let's figure out how we keep this kid on campus. But we've seen that even with other families where they're like, yeah, we really want this for our kid. We got down this path, but we're going to run out of money in year 2.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that. And so it really, how you start is how you're going to end. And it can be a good thing. It can be a great thing. Just, you got to find the right match for everybody.
So without getting too far into the financial part, when do parents start really looking at the finances typically? Like, what grade is their student in?
Yeah. My recommendation is that, like, in the fall of their junior year, so obviously you should start saving as soon as you can for their college. You've got a bit of a nest egg, but when you start getting the nitty gritty in the fall of their junior year, sit down with a financial advisor and map out what you think realistically looks like.
Like, this is how much we have. how far does that get us?
Well, and how much we have, how many kids we have, because this isn't just a one-off decision. This is a decision that we're going to have to plan. Like in our case, if we didn't plan out 16 years worth of college education for 4 kids, you're like, how does that
it's
work?
probably
right?
not fair to say, sorry, second child, your older sibling went to Notre Dame, so you're going to the community college and you have no choice.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Probably not fair.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe the second kid's a jerk. I mean, maybe he deserves it. I don't know. I mean, there's like
maybe let's hope he's a dum-dum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you can say dum-dum these days.
Yeah, okay.
Everything's offensive.
I was talking about the suckers. I was talking about the
suckers. But yeah, so you have to plan that and think about that. And this is not an overwhelming, like that can sound like, oh my gosh, how do I plan? No, you don't have to. We can put some thought into it though, and be intentional and then be fluid as it happens. But it's the same thing. Like you have to think then too, okay, what is our commitment going to be if they do go to grad school? And are we okay with that? And what we find a lot of times, this is funny. So you start that conversation and you'll have mom that says, I want to pay for everything, or dad, one of the parents is saying, I want to pay for everything. No debt for them. We're covering it all. And the other parent's like, whoa, I paid for part of my college. I appreciated paying for it. I want them to have skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if mom and dad aren't even on the same page,
right,
we can't have that conversation with junior. So let's start in the fall semester of their junior year, just getting a rough idea and outline of what this is going to look like. Then your second semester, your spring semester of your junior year, you create the list of schools you want to look at. When weather starts getting nicer, you start going to visit some schools, get your list of these are the schools I think I like. Fall rolls around, or through the summer, you can start working on your Common App. Fall rolls around, you finish that up, start submitting it to schools. And then probably November, December, you're getting your offer letters in, the financial aid is coming in. That now gives you the opportunity to say, okay, let's revisit our top schools. You revisit those top schools. Now, mom and dad, you pick up the phone and you call number 1 and number 2. And you say, hey, our kid really likes you. Our kid really wants to go to school here. However, from a money perspective, is there anything else that we could figure out? Anything else we could work through? Many times the school come back and say, you know what, we want your kid too. Here's maybe another path that we can, something else we can offer. Sometimes not, but it's worth having that call. Once you're accepted, they can't take it back. You're not going to hurt the kid by making that phone call. But now you've given yourself plenty of runway so that now come February, March, you have their senior year. You've got everything finalized. You know what the money's going to look like. They know where they're going to school, so that when the school starts sending out admitted student day and pick your roommate and go online and check out your dorm, your kid can be a part of all of that. You can go into it confidently, and they're not starting behind the 8 ball because all of that was delayed. And now you're not making that decision until June, and they missed half of the stuff, and they're feeling like they're kind of going in behind the 8 ball. So that's our timeline. That's what we would suggest for parents.
I hope people were taking notes. We should maybe lay that out in the show notes. That was like very succinct and very clear. So,
do it 4 times and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like getting married. Once you get married, you're like, oh, now I know how to do a wedding, but hopefully you never have to do it again.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, you're my practice spouse.
Yeah.
Let's just go into this.
By number 4, I'm going to be
down. That maybe there's a path there too. I don't know, but not one that I want to try.
Okay.
So,
well, you got married 35, 40 years ago.
Oh my gosh. It's certain. Well, that's what these gray hairs here. Yeah. Everything sets the kids. That's when you get married, right? No, we, Sarah and I this year celebrated 26. So 26. That's a good year. Yeah. I was thinking, just kind of to talk personal a little bit. I was thinking it might be nice in November, we'll have been together for 30. And so I thought, that might be fun to go and do a trip, like not just celebrate the wedding anniversary, but just kind of celebrate
your life,
our life. Yeah. I haven't done anything with it yet, but it's a good idea at least. Yeah. So we might. See if
Alex and I have been married for 6 years, and I know people are already like, you're 21. How have you been married for 6 years already?
Well, and have 2 kids. And all
wow.
Yeah.
Did you get married in high school? Because you're junior in college right now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's awesome though. We were talking earlier. So Quinny is as much into trucks as right
Quinny wants to play with anything that's in Dylan's hand.
I gotcha.
That's what Quinny likes.
Yep. Yep.
And Dylan likes anything that's not in Quinny's hand.
Yes. Well, but just wait. It does not get any better.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They just started fighting, and I'm like, oh, like, okay, this is the next phase. This is, that's
Now
what everybody talks about.
So, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so did I hear something that we might have an ebook about?
Yes.
College
planning ebook has been released. Just head to the website and I think you can enter your email there and we'll send it to you.
Okay. So that kind of goes hand in hand, I guess, for more information, the nitty gritty than what we talked about today. Yeah,
for sure.
Head to our website, pv-wp.com. At the top, click on resources to find that college planning ebook.
The Retirement Readiness Podcast with Tim Regan and Katie Umland. Presented by Prairie View Wealth Partners. Live your 2 life. Learn more at pv-wp.com. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the Retirement Readiness Podcast on your preferred podcast platform.